Boy, today is going to be a fun day, a historic day. Everybody's feeling good. We've got some outstanding young people here, the finest in Central Arkansas, and we get to honor a guy who used to be an opponent, who now is somebody we respect and have named an award after. So it's going to be exciting. But, I thought we would start the meeting off in a good way. So two big games of the weekend. One was OBU and Henderson State. OBU going for a record. And matter of fact, if you missed the call, Matt, just give a little sample of Rex Nelson and the big game.
First down and 10, Ouachita in Henderson territory now. Drew White in motion left to right as Frazier comes out of the pistol. He gives to Keener, big hole, 35, 30, turns on the speed of the 20, 15, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, end zone, touchdown. The Tigers take their first lead of the afternoon.
And
let's count it down with them.
Listen, here we go. And this is the last call, the countdown as the game concludes.
Let's count it down with them. 9 seconds. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No time left. The students are storming the field. The Tigers have finished 10-0. They're 10-0 for the first time in school history. They have won the 88th Battle of the Ravine convincingly, 41-20.
Hey, how about that? 10-0, OBU goes to. Hey, real quick, I got to show one other thing. Somebody, hey, you guys from Texas, you think you were hated at one time? You're nothing on the level of a member that we have at this club. If you got something to give me, you got to do it now because I got to move on. You got something to give me? Do it quick. Everybody, 1, 2, 3, boo, Tiger Bait, boo.
One for the touchdown club.
There we go. You know what? You know what's so great?
I will sign.
You know what's so great? You might as well take them back since you don't have the real thing anymore. Oh!
This is for you and Chantel's honeymoon night, little Cajun season.
Okay, get out of here. You're done. You're done. Listen, we got to move on.
This is your new nickname. She's going to call you Sweet Basil.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Very good. Yeah, boo. Get him out of here. All right. For those who missed the other great game, and missed Channel 7's sports recap, Matt, let's go down to the field right after the Razorback game real quick. Check this out, me trying to do a stand-up.
Knocks off the 17th ranked team in the country, LSU, putting it in to that 17-game skid. Baz is in the middle of that party. Baz.
Hey, Kyle, the monkey is finally off the back of Brett Bielema and the Razorbacks, and they've replaced it with a big old golden boot. What an inspiring performance by the Razorbacks here at Reynolds Razorback Stadium. Great defensive play. Clutch passing by Brett Bielema. And now the Hawks get focused on going to a bowl game. Back to you, Kyle. I got the back to you, Kyle.
I'm sure he loves it. I think everyone there probably is.
Oh, yeah, that was the end of it. I got the back to you, Kyle, done, so that was exciting. And then, of course, my phone started blowing up, and I understood that my new name is not Basil, it's Basil. And remember me saying Joe Tessitore? I didn't like that Joe Tessitore when we had Dari Noka here. And darn if that Tessitore didn't mispronounce my name about 30 times or whatever, how many times he did it. But for those who missed the clip, this was one of my favorite ones because I talked to the team on Friday, gave him my best rah-rah Newt Rockne speech, said a word that I probably shouldn't have said, and looked up in the press box, and there it was being played during the ESPN broadcast. So here I'm texting my mother apologizing at age 51 that, Mom, I'm sorry that I said the A word on national TV. And do you have that, Matt? Let's see here.
Friday, former Arkansas linebacker David Basil, who created the Golden Boot, putting a challenge to the Hogs here.
When that game is over with, okay, if you want to shake hands, that's fine. But once it's done, I want either 5 of you, 10 of you, 20 of you, or all of you to run your ass down there and get that boot.
And watch what happens.
And you need them all, bro. That's a heavy thing, right? That's a heavy piece of material. Look at it. How great is that? They do exactly what David Basil told them.
How about that? Was that not sweet? Wow, what a game. So we start things off on a celebratory mood, and Gary Underwood, would you come up and lead us in a word of prayer?
David, I made ESPN too. Did you see me on the field? I was there. I have a new favorite number. Anybody wonder what it is? 17. Y'all believe that? 17 losses, 17 to nothing, 17th ranked team. Today's the 17th. Go buy a lottery ticket. My goodness gracious. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to gather together and enjoy each other's company and just have a good time celebrating. Lord, we thank you for the good times and the bad. We thank you for everything that you do for us every day. We ask you to use us today in your service. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Gary. We have a full house tonight. We have a full program. Excited to hear Coach Campbell a little bit later. And Coach Campbell realizes we've got a special day in recognizing some great high school students. How many enjoyed the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame last week? Was that not outstanding? Wow. Boy, I'm already looking forward to next year on that. It's going to be outstanding. Next week, we have Sean Andrews. I think he was a two-time All-American offensive lineman, and so he's going to be great, play for the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's our last meeting of the year, if you can believe that. If you've never been to the Touchdown Club, especially if you're one of our honorees, before we ask you to turn off your phone, we're live streaming right now. So if you go to lrtouchdown.com, you can see this broadcast live anywhere on the planet. So if you've got an uncle or a granddaddy or a grandmama from Russia to Miami, wherever, you can text them right now and say, go to lrtouchdown.com, and you'll see today's broadcast. Do want to thank our great sponsors, and we've had some tremendous ones the entire year. Twin City Limousine, who picks up all of our speakers each week. Cranford Johnson Robertson Woods, who they're helping us handle the Cliff Harris promotional campaign, which kicks off in full gear here in just a few weeks. Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau, David Russell and Gretchen Hall, thank you. 103.7 The Buzz, Steve Johnson, Justin and Pat Bradley out there doing the show. Every Touchdown Club on Monday. Epic Health, Arkansas Urology. Thank you, Mike Whitfield and Tim Langford and all the folks over there. They've been a tremendous sponsor the last couple of years. Wendy's, Nan Trammell, you see our Dan Hampton and Willie Rofe Awards. Wendy's is a sponsor for that. We thank them. Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings Law Firm, been around 100 years. I know Judy's not here today, but John Tisdale, Aaron Brooks, Antoine Phillips, Patrick Young, just a few of their sports law staff that do a great job. And they are the sponsor of the Cliff Harris Award, and here's a trophy right there. Look forward. Matter of fact, we started getting nominees in, guys, already. So excited to see who our winner's going to be. Also, Crane Automotive, now been with us, I guess, 4 or 5 years. So thankful for the folks from Crane. Wouldn't be here if it not for you guys and your support. Thank you so much to Larry Crane and the guys. The Arkansas Democrat Gazette, Wally Hall, Tabitha Cunningham, thanks so much for you supporting us for every year we've had a Touchdown Club. And last but not least, our presenting sponsor, Simmons Bank. George Macris couldn't be here today, and so we're fortunate to have, as we do every week, Little Rock Community President from Simmons, Adam Mitchell. Adam, thank you so much for your support all year. I think it's been a great Touchdown Club. Give a big round of applause to all those great sponsors, if you will. Also want to thank Matt Johnson of Matt Johnson Productions in the back. He's the one who's shooting this, live streaming it. Dwayne Duncan, who is shooting right there. Now, all of our honorees, that gentleman right there, after this is over, we're going to do some pictures up here with our Texas friends and your plaques. So once we're done, if you've got a few minutes, unless you just want to get back to school. If you want to get back to school, you can go ahead and get out of here. But we're going to do photos, and Dwayne will be doing those. So thank you, Dwayne. RJ Hawk is doing our social media. It is, if you go to LR Touchdown Club, at LR Touchdown Club, that's our Twitter handle, hashtag LRTDC. And last week, he couldn't be here, but he was actually tweeting on our behalf by watching the live stream in a deer stand. Now, that is dedication to the Touchdown Club, so RJ, thank you and he didn't kill a deer. That's the only bad thing there. Do want to thank our wonderful check-in ladies who do a marvelous job every week. They're the best in the country. We couldn't do it without them. Where's Debbie? Is Debbie around? She's outside. Debbie Wyman, our executive director, has just been outstanding, done a great job of getting all you special guests here today. Let's give a round of applause for all those folks who support the club. Let's go ahead with our Arkansas Democrat Gazette High School Player of the Week. We do this each week. His name is Cleo Floyd. He is a junior running back from Hot Springs. He's a Hot Springs Trojan. This, I think, Rex, is the first time we've ever honored a Hot Springs Trojans. 2 weeks ago, he goes 29 rushes for 302 yards and 2 touchdowns in their 38-20 victory over Camden Fairview. And Coach Vereen, I was just talking to him about what did you do this past week. This past week, he rushed for 29 times for 365 yards, and their 47-35 victory over Little Rock Christian, which I apologize, Little Rock Christian is here. But what an outstanding two-game stretch, and they're still in the playoffs. So let's give a Little Rock Touchdown Club welcome to our Player of the Week, Cleo Floyd. And I've had a couple of people ask me, by the way, too. This is Basil up here. Ha ha! Y'all all have your fun. You got to tell your fun. And this is the same blue suit that I gave the speech in, Rex. So I'm not taking it off for the next year, at least the next 3 weeks for sure. Okay. Again, we're going to sort of speed things up, and Rex normally, as you know, gives an expansive weekend wrap-up. He's going to make it a little bit briefer so we can get to our honorees today, but nobody does it better. He's the best in the business. Please welcome Rex Nelson, everybody.
I really am confused. You know, if you were at that Southwest Conference Hall of Fame induction banquet last week, it was Brazel then. And then on ESPN Saturday night, it's Basil. So let's just call him Baz. Thanks, Baz. I appreciate it. I do have a bit of bad news to report from the Hill in case you haven't heard. There were 6 Razorbacks who suffered back injuries trying to lift the boot. Hopefully they'll be ready for Ole Miss on Saturday night. I do think it's safe to declare, don't you, that LSU is not a cold weather team. And how about that Arkansas defense? LSU finishes with 123 yards. That's 250 less than its season average. The Tigers just 36 rushing yards in that football game. So Gary mentioned the 17s. So long to that 17-game SEC losing streak. And today is the 17th. Is it your birthday, Jim Rasco? That's what I understand. Let's give Jim Rasco a hand. Happy birthday. 73. Yeah. There we go. All right, happy birthday, Jim. Also so long to a 14-game losing streak to ranked teams. That dated back to the Cotton Bowl win over Kansas State in January of 2012. Now, Arkansas, the first team this year to hold LSU scoreless in the first half. The last time Arkansas had a shutout victory over LSU, 1929. That game was played at Shreveport. I bet Rasco's got the program at least from it. The two teams did play to a 0-0 tie in the Cotton Bowl in 1947. LSU had not been shut out in any game since losing 21-0 to Alabama in the 2011 National Championship game. The last regular season shutout had been way back in 2002 to Alabama, so quite an accomplishment. First shutout victory, meanwhile, for Arkansas since 20-0 over Utah State in 2006. First SEC shutout for the Hogs since 23-0 over South Carolina in 2006. So LSU is 25-2 now, under Les Miles after a loss, and Arkansas has delivered that second loss both times, this year and then that 3 overtime loss. So they're the only ones that have come back after an LSU loss and given them a second loss. Now, as David alluded to, not only because of our speaker, but glad to, purple is the color of the day today. There is still one undefeated team in Arkansas as we near Thanksgiving, and it's Ouachita. Ouachita 41, Henderson 20, 88th Battle of the Ravine, record crowd of more than 12,000 people despite the weather. Ouachita 10-0, first time in school history. They're first in their super region. That means they get a bye in the first round of the playoffs. They'll play at home the Saturday after Thanksgiving at Cliff Harris Stadium against either Minnesota Duluth or Northwest Missouri State. Ouachita came into that game number 9. Henderson, which is now 9-2, was number 14. Ouachita's second GAC title in 4 years. Henderson won it the last 2 years. So since that conference was formed, the title has never been outside of Arkadelphia. Kyle Frazier, the Ouachita quarterback, had played in an Iron Bowl. Now he's played in the Battle of the Ravine. In my mind, the greatest Division I rivalry and the greatest Division II rivalry, and he's played in both. He threw 2 touchdown passes for Ouachita, ran for another. He's thrown only 4 interceptions, by the way, this year in 10 games. Harding, meanwhile, finishes 9-1. They earn a playoff berth. They go to Pittsburgh State of Kansas to play the Gorillas on Saturday. Harding beat 3-8 Arkansas Tech 41-7. Southern Arkansas finishes 5-5. UAM finishes 2-8, 66-42 Mule Riders in Monticello. Arkansas State quickly 6-4, 4-2, being upset in Jonesboro by Appalachian State 37-32. Marcus Cox just ran all over the Red Wolves, 229 yards. Appalachian State scores 31 consecutive points in that game. UAPB 3-7 and 2-6. They lose 56-6 to Alcorn State. Very quickly in the SEC, number 1 Mississippi State falls to Alabama 25-20. So both those teams are 9-1. Tide is 6-1 in conference. Mississippi State 5-1. Bulldogs fell just 1 victory shy of their program record winning streak of 13 games. And no surprise here, we've been expecting it. Will Muschamp officially gets the pink slip a day after the Gators lose in the Swamp to South Carolina 23-20. Yes, he will be on our speakers list next year. David's great at getting those old coaches, yeah. And he'll be intense. South Carolina ended a 4-game conference losing streak to go to 5-5, 3-5. I do want the old ball coach when he retires now. Florida is 5-4. They're 4-4. Muschamp has lost 13 of his last 22 games, and that doesn't cut it at Florida. Tennessee goes to 5-5 and 2-4 before 102,000 in Knoxville. 50-16 over Kentucky. Tennessee, by the way, has now won 29 of its past 30 games against Kentucky. And Georgia just blows out Auburn. I don't think I saw this score coming in Athens. 34-7. Georgia now 8-2, 6-2 in the East. Auburn falls to 7-3 overall, 4-3 in conference. So Missouri still leads the SEC East after a 34-27 win over Texas A&M before 105,000 screaming Aggies in College Station. There's a joke there somewhere. I don't have time for it today, or I would have found it. Missouri is 8-2, 5-1 in the conference, 587 yards of offense. A&M falls to 7-4, 3-4 in the conference. This week, it's Western Carolina at Alabama. Samford, that's Samford, not Stanford, the ones that came here last year, at Auburn. Eastern Kentucky at Florida. Charleston Southern at Georgia. Vanderbilt at Mississippi State. Missouri at Tennessee. South Alabama at South Carolina. Ole Miss at Arkansas. How many of you like Arkansas to upset a top 10 Rebel team this Saturday? Quite a few. That is a very quick version of the recap. Get out and see a college football game. Thanks, everybody.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Before we get to Coach Campbell and his part of the program, we got a special part of our program we're going to do now, and this is something that's been in the works, I guess, really for probably a year. And our honorees, who will introduce and say, raise your hand right now where our honorees are. If you're an honoree here for the James Treat Award, raise your hand. Raise your hand. All right. Now, this is something I want you to listen to. I want you to listen to these guys talk about James Treat. And I want you to, when you go home tonight, Google James Treat. Because this is the way this happened. James Treat, obviously, all the Razorback fans know, put the dagger in our heart back in 1969, and we've hardly ever recovered from it. There he is right there with Coach Royal. That's the James Treat logo. For many years, you know, James Treat was the devil. And until, I think, a reunion between the two teams. What was the year for that, Bruce, the reunion? 04. Up in Fayetteville, started something that led us to this point. And that Bruce began his relationship with Big Bob McKay, who he battled that day in 1969, and James Treat. Well, after they got to be good friends, and Bruce invited James Treat and Bob McKay to come speak to the Touchdown Club. Didn't charge a dime, didn't charge a speaking fee, paid their own way. And what they did on their trips to Arkansas I thought was so classy were to sort of try to mend the wounds a little bit, heal the wounds, and say, listen, you guys were a great team. Listen, we could have easily lost that game, and we had more respect for the Razorback team than any team we played. And I think as Razorback fans, we appreciated something. It was such a stinging loss. to hear the folks that beat us be so classy. And then, of course, they've made other trips to Arkansas, but the most recent one was when James Street came to the Big Shootout. And I know some of you in here were the Big Shootout movie at the Clinton Library that we were involved with and I was organizing. And I'll never forget, James was the only one there. Bob couldn't be there because of surgery. But he got a standing ovation because the Arkansas fans knew here's a guy that didn't have to be here, that flew in on his own dime because he wanted to show respect to the team that he beat and to say, we were fortunate to win that game. It could have been the other way around. And I think we as fans respected that. And he passed 25 days after that appearance. We were the last public major appearance that he made. And so at the funeral, Big Bob gave a check to Bruce. And Bruce didn't know what he just said, give this to the Touchdown Club. I wanted to, James and I, in honor of James, we had such a good time supporting that. So Bruce came to me and said, hey, here's some money. What can we do with it? Can we do something in honor of James? And so Bruce and I went back and forth, and we thought, well, let's do a sportsmanship. You know, we honor in February, Michael Irvin speaking to the Touchdown Club in February, and we're going to honor the top athletes around the state, high school and college. And Bruce and I were talking, what about doing something about kids who do something that isn't the most important thing is what they do on the field? So we went back to Bob McKay and Ted Coy and Bill Hall, who are all friends with James. And this is a unique relationship, y'all. Very rarely do you see a one-state Touchdown Club honor a player from another state that we used to hate, basically. But he's such a class guy, and I think this is such a unique deal. And the Texas players say they will fund this every year in honor, and they wanted to make sure on the logo that Coach Royal was like a son, or rather a father to James. And so I do want to bring up Bob McKay to say a few words. He was a guy that all three of these guys were best friends with James. But if you could, our honorees, I want you to hear somebody that was best friends. James Street either called him Biggin or Robert C. Is that what it was? Robert C. or Biggin. So please welcome Bob McKay, everybody.
Well, I want to let you know it's a pleasure for us to be here today for this award. And if you ever donate money to this club, don't give the check to David because you'll never get it cashed. I wrote the check in October of 2013. It cleared the bank last week. So. I'd call and ask Bruce, I said, can you explain to me where the check is? I said, I'll write another one or replace it. Or he said, David has it. I said, well, just look at it and make sure it's there. He said, it's there. So we've solved that problem. We're giving the money to Chantel. So we've solved that deal. But for us and for y'all honoring James the way y'all have with this award, you know, Street wasn't the prettiest quarterback we had. He wasn't the fastest one. He wasn't the tallest one. He wasn't the biggest one, any shape, form, or fashion. He was the 11th quarterback on our team. He won one game his senior year in high school. And he comes to Texas, and he beats out a man that was all-world. Bill Bradley was the biggest recruit in the country. And Bill, for whatever reason, could not run the option. Absolutely just it didn't work. And we're playing Texas Tech, and at half, Coach Royal puts him in and said, hell, you can't do any worse than what's happening right now. And he almost won the ball game. But he steps up the next time, and we win 20 straight. And if you go back to some of our ball games we played, if he had to throw that pass, I'm going to promise you it bounced 4 times before it hit the back wall back there. We play Oklahoma. He throws about 8 passes, 5 of them to Oklahoma. You know, it got to be in our game with y'all. Told him, hey, we couldn't afford him to throw the ball again because y'all caught all of them. So. But James was one of those people that made everybody around him better. Just by him, by the way he did things. And he loved coming up here after that reunion. We talked about it several times that the whole thing that the Arkansas players invited us up here, and we sat down with them and talked about stuff that went on. And I always kid James. He used to bet on football games, and hell, he'd watch a replay and still think he lost. So this is for us is what football was all about. I mean, everybody played as hard as you could. That's the only reason you go out there. And they have a scoreboard at the end of the thing because that's the only reason you play is to see who wins. And we got lucky and we won. But it could have been the other way very easy. Hell, our tight end couldn't outrun my mother, and he catches the ball. I mean, if you see the game, when the thing breaks, he's behind. Your two backs catch up with him. There's 6 hands up there, and Coach Roy used to say we were lucky because our two caught it. And that's how it works out. I mean, it's just the luck of the draw. But James enjoyed this, and when he came back from the film, he kept talking about how wonderful the whole deal was and how nice the people from Arkansas were to him. So we appreciate it, and certainly appreciate the finalists for this award. And let me tell you, you represent a hell of a man.
Bob was an All-American offensive tackle, and in the backfield you had another All-American, a superstar halfback who played in the NFL for the Oakland Raiders. Please acknowledge, if you would, Ted Coy. Ted, would you please stand and let us recognize you? Next to Ted is a gentleman named Bill Hall, and Bill started out as a manager on the team and became a confidant and close ally of Darrell Royal, and then for many years took care of James Street's financials. He's a CPA, and he's a super successful businessman, but remained close to James until his death, and same with Coach Royal. Please welcome Bill Hall, everybody. And somebody who's been a driving force I think we need to give some recognition to is Bruce James, who's done a great job with this. Everybody, Bruce James. Now, what this is about, you say, what is sportsmanship? It's a good question. It's very subjective. But what we wanted to do, we asked the coaches in Little Rock that had football programs to pick a player, a manager, somebody in your football program that was special to them. Somebody maybe that didn't get all the attention, maybe somebody that wasn't a superstar, but somebody that was making a difference, was inspirational in some way. So really today, I'm not sure what the impetus was for each coach to pick you honorees, but that is saying something that they did, and that's why we're here to honor you with a gentleman that you can see how much they thought of James Street. So at this time, I would like all of our honorees to come around here to the side of the room. You can go ahead and get up now and just come. You'll have to sort of work your way through here. And we're going to introduce you one at a time and let the gentleman from Texas, guys, you'll go over there, stand over there. We're going to present you with a plaque. We're going to ask you to stand beside us. All right, now, guys, as we introduce you, just go all the way to the end, and we'll have all 12 of you stand up here on the stage. First, representing Arkansas Baptist, he was nominated by Coach Brad Helm. Please welcome Riley Perkins. And, guys, you'll just have to move around as I call your name out, so that's okay. Representing the Arkansas School for the Deaf, who's had an outstanding football season this year, Marlon Thurlkill. And Marlon was nominated by Coach Rick Porter. From Episcopal Collegiate School, nominated by Coach Richie Marsh, Kiri Wright. Representing Little Rock Catholic, nominated by Coach John Fogelman, Cole Moore. Representing Little Rock Central, nominated by Coach Scooter Register, Hayden McCarty. Representing Little Rock Christian, nominated by Coach Jeff Weaver, Hunter McFarland. Representing Little Rock Hall, nominated by Coach Tim Scarborough, Joe Holly. Representing Little Rock McClellan, nominated by Coach Maurice Moody, Jacoby Davis. Representing Little Rock Parkview, nominated by Coach William Hardiman, Dominique Scott. Our one manager that's represented here today, representing Pulaski Academy, nominated by Coach Kevin Kelly, Andre Visi. Make sure we got enough space down there, fellas, a little bit more. Almost done. Representing Pulaski Robinson, nominated by Coach Todd Escola, Blake Burks. Our last finalist for the James Street Award from Southwest Christian Academy, nominated by Coach Wade Menzies, Alan Williams. Bob, Ted, Bill, you guys can go ahead and take your seats. And guys, I want you to spread out a little bit wider where you have a little bit of space in between you so we can get some pictures, but we'll get some pictures afterwards. But ladies and gentlemen, you know, I thought about trying to go into detail about all what these young men represent. There's some amazing stories. There's kids up here that are battling illnesses and have battled illnesses, life-threatening illnesses. There are kids up there that are fighting for their family, for their financial success, financial life. There are kids here that are just amazing leaders. But what you see is the best that we have in America right here. And, you know, there's one thing, I love being able to honor our great athletes at a banquet in February, the superstars. But I love the fact that this is what our country's built on. This is what our greatness is built on. So we have a tradition here. We give a special round of applause, and we need to do it here for all these honorees. A Little Rock Touchdown Club, welcome to our finalists for our first class of the James Street Award, everybody. All right. If you could, just for a second, I would like for every mother and father or guardian that is here today with an honoree, please stand and let us recognize you now. If you are a uncle, grandmother, great friend, or you're here to support one of these guys, let's give you a round of applause. Please stand. If you are a head coach that nominated your player, and they're all represented here today, please stand all of our head coaches and let's give them a round of applause. I want to congratulate you before I name who the winner is, all of you, for being nominated. You're all special young men. And, you know, I always, my claim to fame is I played against Bo Jackson and guys like Eric Dickerson. But you know what? Who cares? You're the kind of guys that I appreciate. I've met 4 U.S. presidents. I'd rather be around guys like you that are special and maybe don't always get the pats on the back. And that's why we're here today, just to give you a pat on the back, because you're doing great things, and maybe when nobody's watching. So I wish we could get all of you the winning plaque and the scholarship check, but I hope you know that you're all winners, and we appreciate what you're doing at your school, for your family, and for the community. But we're going to give one winner, and the winner gets a $1,000 check towards a scholarship or whatever they use that for their family or school. And this is again being provided by these gentlemen from the Texas Longhorns. Is it the T?
Actually, this is coming from the 68, 69 teammates of James Street. We're committed to doing this as long as we can withstand it, so we can get back up.
How about that? Is that not great? So, the first annual James Street Sportsmanship Award goes to Dominique Scott. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is an outstanding. Guys, thank you so much, and you can take your seat and enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you for what you're doing. I know that reading through all the nomination forms, I know your parents are proud of you, your coach is proud of you, and we look forward for great things from each of you. And we'll do some pictures afterwards, too. By the way, too, as I mentioned, that was one of the important things you see even on the plaques that Coach Royal was in the picture with James Street. Thank you, guys, from Texas, you class guys. We appreciate it. And we've been able to honor some great folks and some great parents and coaches here today. Thank you. All right, it's time to introduce, for the next part of our program, the birthday boy who's the same age as our next week's speaker. Is it 73? Sean Andrews. Nobody does it. What is it?
Not the same age.
Same uniform number. That's exactly right. It's been a long weekend. And by the way, I'm excited about the new UCA coach because, Bruce and I, we don't have too many guys from our neck of the woods. And Coach played at a high school that I played against. He's a few years younger than me, but his high school beat my high school in the state playoffs in 1980. And we're not happy about that, but I'm excited to know we have a panhandle. We're both redneck Riviera guys. And glad to have you at UCA. But James Roscoe, will you come up, Jim, and introduce Coach?
Thank you, Basil. Did I hear a James Roscoe in there? I don't know. All right. All of you know Steve Campbell is in his first year as head coach at the University of Central Arkansas. He's a native of Florida. In addition to being a great football player in college, he was an outstanding student. First article I found on Steve was from the Baton Rouge Advocate, dated October 23rd, 1985. It states that football centers did well in the classroom with Steve Campbell of Southeastern Louisiana University having a 3.59 GPA in marketing. The next article states that Southeastern Louisiana center Steve Campbell was named to the Gulf South Conference Academic All-Star Team for 1985. The third article was dated in December of 1987, and it was the announcement of the Gulf South Conference All-League team. The first team center was Steve Campbell of Troy State, a 6'1", 235-pound senior from Cantonment, Florida? Cantonment, Florida. I knew these Basil and Bruce would know how to pronounce that. Should have asked them beforehand. By the way, with Steve as the all-conference center, Troy won the NCAA Division II National Championship that year. Steve's coaching career started in 1988 as a graduate assistant at Auburn University under head coach Pat Dye, who's been our guest speaker on at least 2 occasions. In 1997, Campbell received his first head coaching position, taking over at Southwest Mississippi Community College. During his 2 seasons with the Bears, the teams went 12-8, including the school's first winning season in 12 years. Then to Delta State in 1999, compiling a 27-8 record over 3 seasons. This set a school winning percentage record of .771. His no-huddle offense shattered 12 Gulf South Conference records and 6 NCAA Division II records. In his second season, Delta State won the NCAA Division II National Championship. It was no surprise Coach Campbell was named National Coach of the Year by 3 different organizations. Steve then served as offensive line coach at Mississippi State in Jackie Sherrill's last season at that state. In 2004, Coach Campbell started a 10-year run as a head coach at Mississippi Gulf Coast. This run included a perfect record of 12-0 in 2007, which resulted in a National Junior College Athletic Association co-national championship and more National Coach of the Year awards. In 2008, he was the recipient of the National Football Foundation and College Hall of Fame's Distinguished American Award. Under his tenure, Gulf Coast was ranked in the National Junior College Football Poll for 115 straight weeks and finished the last 8 seasons in the nation's top 10. With that record, it's no surprise that 11 months ago, President Tom Courtway and Dr. Brad Teague hired Steve Campbell as the head coach of the UCA Bears. So here he is, Coach Steve Campbell.
All right, Coach, knock 'em out.
Thank you. Wow, I feel like I'm on This Is Your Life. Coming up with something from 1984. I have not had anybody do that kind of research on me in a long time. It's kind of scary. I was wondering what else he was going to come up with from 1984, 1985. It's an honor to be here. I tell you, when you look at the list of great speakers that you've had over the years, it's awe-inspiring. It's humbling. It's humbling to be up here today with guys who played on national championship teams. It's humbling to be here and with such great young men that we're honoring today. Congratulations to the young men for your outstanding work in the classroom, in the community, and for your coaches to honor you with the Sportsmanship Award. That's outstanding, and you're to be congratulated. Honored to be here. It's great to be in the state of Arkansas. Arkansans love their football. That was one of the first things that I learned when, years ago I was the head coach at Delta State University, and we'd come over and we'd play the Hardings, the Hendersons, the Wachitas, and then a first trip to UCA, and it was I was sold. I said that is a beautiful, beautiful place where the people love their football, and they're very excited about football. And then in the state of Arkansas, like this week, you've got Arkansas beats LSU, and they're tearing down the goalpost in Fayetteville. You've got the Battle of the Ravine, and Wachita finishes an undefeated season. So at every level of football, they love their football in the state of Arkansas. So it's very exciting for me to be here at the University of Central Arkansas, a great school. There aren't many schools in the country that can boast of winning 3 national championships. You've got, your Alabamas and your Notre Dames, but, at University of Central Arkansas, I'm very excited to be there because that is a school that has an outstanding winning tradition, and they've won national championships. We're really looking forward to building on that tradition and getting us back into a position where we can play for a national championship. Today, what I'd like to do is, I told you a lot about me, but would like to tell you a little bit about myself and then talk a little bit about our program at University of Central Arkansas, where we're at right now and where we'd like to take it. As I'm here speaking, you look at all of the great players guys that played at University of Texas, played on a national championship team, guys that played at University of Arkansas in the SEC, and played at a very high level. But football, the thing I love about football, and David touched on this earlier, it's the backbone of our country. The guys that, it's not always, it's great when you have All-Americans and everything like that, but it's also the guys that maybe weren't highly recruited. When I came out of high school, I was not highly recruited at all. I thought that I was going to, my dream, if you grow up, David, where we grew up, nowadays it's probably Florida State, but back in the day when we were growing up, it was all Alabama. It was Bear Bryant. If you were from Northwest Florida or Alabama, you wanted to go to Alabama and play for Bear Bryant. And I assumed that he was going to offer me a scholarship and I was going to go to Alabama and play for the Bear. I did not know that I was 6 foot, 220 pounds, soaking wet. So I go to my coach my senior year, and I'm not getting recruited. I'm not getting any letters, anything like that. And I go to the coach and say, Coach, what's going on with my recruiting? Has anybody been asking about me? And he said, yeah, Itawamba Junior College has been asking about you. You need to go underneath the stadium and get a pair of cleats and drive to Mobile, and they've got a tryout day. So that was the extent of my recruiting, was a tryout day from Itawamba Community College. But, so from those beginnings, football was very, very, very good to me. Had a chance to go to southeastern Louisiana and play there for 2 years, and then they dropped football, and Troy State University offered me a scholarship. Was able to play there for 2 years, and the last game of my senior year, we were able to win the national championship, and that kind of forged something in me to where I definitely wanted to get into coaching and be able to influence the lives like so many coaches. We've got a lot of great coaches here today that are doing a tremendous job influencing the lives of the young people around them. And I had been influenced by so many great coaches that led me to want to get into coaching. And from there, I'm a guy that I've been at every level of college football, from the junior college ranks to the Division II ranks to the FCS level to the SEC. And the thing that I found is that football is football, regardless of I've been in a part of the Iron Bowl where my last year at Auburn was the first year that Alabama ever made the trip to Jordan-Hare. That was a big deal. And Auburn was able to beat Alabama at Jordan-Hare Stadium. There was 100,000 in the stadium and 300,000 outside the stadium. So that was a big-time deal. But at football at its core, it really doesn't matter how many people are at the game. It's about the competition, the sportsmanship, the opportunity to play, the opportunity to compete. And that's the beauty of football. Would like to talk a little bit about recruiting. Recruiting is it's the lifeblood of any great football program. For us to get to where we want to be, and we're very close right now, recruiting is ultimately important. I'm a guy. I was a 0-star coming out of high school. I told you, I had to earn a scholarship through a tryout. But then, was able to. There are so many guys that take that path. Right now, you flip on the TV and you watch the recruiting, Tom Luganbill's recruiting or whoever it may be, and they're talking about the stars, how many stars this player has, how many stars that player has. But that to me, that's not what's important. It's about some of the things that we talked about today: the character, the work ethic, the sportsmanship. You got to have talent, you got to have ability, but there are other things that can help take you over the hump to winning a championship. And would like to tell you a story about two guys. When I was at Mississippi Gulf Coast, it was my second year there. We had to start somewhere, building a foundation. So he said, we need to find us a big nose guard. And when I say big, wanted to find somebody 350 plus. I didn't want a 300-pound nose guard. I wanted a 350, 360, 370. So started to look, because everybody's got 300-pounders. They do. I mean, nowadays in college football, everybody's got 300-pounders. If you're 260, 270, you're undersized. If you're 300, you're just like everybody else. If you're 340, 350, 360, you're bigger than everybody else, and we wanted to be bigger than everybody else. So we looked and looked and looked for a nose guard. Finally, back in those days, we did have internet. This is about 7-8 years ago. I get an email. On the internet, and it says, check out this 400-pound nose guard. And, so I clicked on it. Normally you delete, and you go through, but I said, let's look at it. We got to uncover every stone. So I clicked on the 400-pound nose guard. Well, this guy, they didn't even have shoulder pads to fit him, didn't have a helmet to fit him. He lines down at nose, and he just takes off, and he is wading through guys, just knocking them out right and left. And then on the next clip, they got him back at tailback, and they pitch him the ball, and he's running, just people are, it is like they're like the little dog on the cartoon yapping at the big, and he's just throwing people to the side right and left. So I said, well, who is this guy? And you look at it, and there was a phone number there to the high school coach, and I called the high school coach and said, Coach, is this, I got your film. I love your nose guard. Is anybody recruiting him? He said, no, everybody thinks he's too big. They think he can't play, whatever. And he said, do you like him? I said, man, I love him. He is just what we're looking for. He said, you don't think he's too big? I said, no, he is perfect. I said, we want him. We want to sign him. He said, well, do you want to send down a scholarship, mail us a scholarship? No. I said, I want to fax you a scholarship that you can have in about 10 seconds. If we mail it, that's going to take 3 days. I want this guy today. So we faxed him a scholarship, signed him, and he got out there, and this guy was a 0-star recruit, had one offer from Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, comes up to our place, winds up making All-American 2 years in a row, leads us to a national championship. And then after our 2 years there, I'm trying to push him to this school and that school. He's too big, he's too heavy, can't run, can't. Well, one guy says, you know what, I kind of need a nose guard, and I want a big guy. And I had one offer from Nick Saban. Goes on, plays at Alabama, makes All-American there 2 years, makes first-team All-American 2 years, leads him to a national championship, and is a finalist for the Lombardi Award his senior year. So it was such, that guy was Terrence Cody. I don't know if any of y'all ever heard of Mount Cody. He was a 0-star recruit that wound up winning a national championship at our place, making All-American. And then went to Alabama, won a national championship there, was a 2-time All-American and a Lombardi Award finalist. And, take great pride in football. When Terrence got to our school, he had one bag full of clothes, and that really didn't have a whole lot else. But he was there to play football and there to get an education, and then to see where it took him. Then 4 years later, he's in New York City with a bow tie to Waldorf Astoria, there for the Outland Lombardi Trophy. So football gave him a path, got a great education. Now he's playing with the Baltimore Ravens in the NFL. But he's a guy that was a 0-star recruit that went on and was tremendous. I don't know if any of y'all ever heard the name of Vic Ballard. Vic was the starting tailback for the Baltimore Colts. Vic, very similar story that was. Let me put it like this, just to cut through the recruiting. We had guys in the Senior Bowl 5 years in a row. Had a player from our school in the Senior Bowl 5 years in a row, which was more than any other SEC school than Alabama and Auburn. And to the point of the tale is that all 5 of those guys had 0 stars coming out of high school, but they all had tremendous work ethic. They loved the game. They were guys that were unselfish. They put their teammates first, and they were guys that had a chance to go on and play in the NFL. So, and that's one reason I'm so excited about being in the state of Arkansas, because I know those same guys as we go out recruiting. I see those same kinds of players in the state of Arkansas that are outstanding football players, and we're really looking forward to getting out and recruiting and getting more of those guys on board at University of Central Arkansas. We've got 2 right now that Desmond Lewis is an outstanding player. He leads our league in receiving, Southland Conference. He was all Southland Conference last year, but he's a guy that he'll be an NFL player that had 0 stars coming out of high school. And then Jonathan Woodard, a defensive end. He's a big 6'6", 275 defensive end right now, coming out of high school. He's 210 pounds. And nobody was recruiting him right now. He's 60 pounds later. He's everybody wants him. He is a really good football player. So those guys are out there, and that's what makes that. To me, that's the beauty of football, is that with enough desire, want to, all those things, you can pretty much go as far as you want to go. So again, congratulations to all the young men today, because that's what you're showing to your teammates and to your community. Tell you another story about a guy that it'll show you what kind of evaluators we are, which is not always good. You miss on guys too, miss on a lot of them. When my first full-time, my first head coaching job was at Southwest Mississippi Community College. I don't know if any of y'all ever heard of Jerry Clower. Any of y'all ever heard of Jerry Clower? That's the same school Jerry Clower went to. They gave him a half scholarship just looking at him. But that was my first head coaching job, was at the home of Jerry Clower. just outside of Liberty, Mississippi, Route 4. But I got that job. Anyway, my wife is the head of the youth group at the Methodist Church, the MYF. And I'm recruiting, and in junior college football, there's some outstanding talent. You've got guys that may be NFL players, that future NFL guys, but maybe the SEC, maybe they didn't have the ACT score to get in there. Anyway, she comes home from MYF one day and says, "Stephen, you need to sign Jamie. He's in my youth group. He is a great player." And I said, "Shelly, you talking about Jamie? He's 5'8". He's an offensive guard." I said, "I'm not going to be able to sign Jamie." And she said, "You don't know, he loves it. You know, he loves it. You know, you need to take a chance on him." Anyway, time passes. A couple of weeks later, she comes back and says, talking to her about recruiting, she says, "Stephen, you thought about Jamie anymore?" And I go, "Well, yeah, I've thought about him a lot. He's not on that board. I think about you think about not recruiting him. He's not big enough to play. I mean, we need some size. You know, the guys we're playing here." You need some bigger guys. She said, "Well, you really need to take a look at him. You need to consider him. He loves it." Anyway, time passes, and you know how the story goes. Finally, we're getting some, losing some, and anyway, I got a spot right at the end. She said, "Stephen, you need to sign Jamie." And anyway, I go to Jamie and offer him a half scholarship, same one Jerry Clower got, 25 years earlier. And so Jamie comes to school, and Jamie plays offensive guard. Well, at that same time, I said, "That's good. Jamie can be a backup," because I got a big boy from Moncks Corner, South Carolina, that Clemson had signed that made a 13 on his, made a lower score on his ACT, so he wasn't able to go to Clemson. All right, so we were able to get that guy in. I said, "He's going to be my starter. He's 6'6", 325. All right, so I put the 5'8", 260 and the 6'6", 325 together at the same spot, knowing that the Clemson signee is going to win the job. As time passes, the Clemson signee couldn't take the job. He'd step with the wrong foot, go the wrong way, miss an assignment here, missing it. Well, Jamie's perfect. Takes the best first step, shoots his hands, runs his feet, fights, scratches, claws. Yes, sir. Anything you ask him, yeah, I mean, he is fired up and ready to roll. So he never could take the job. To make a long story short, as he was introduced, we had our first winning season in that school. In our first year, we had our first winning season in 12 years. Well, Jamie was my starting guard. And then the next year, he took us, a game from the state championship. Well, then I leave. I get the head job at Delta State. 4-year school, big school. We get there and we start recruiting. And my wife, Shelly, she says, "Stephen, you need to recruit Jamie." And I said, "Shelly, they'll run me out of here now. I can't bring no 5'8" offensive lineman up here. This is big time football." And y'all know how the story goes, right? I mean, 6 months later, after boom, 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 we signed Jamie. All right, well, Jamie gets there, and tell you the end of the story, Jamie's senior year, which is 2 years later, we played North Dakota State, 5-time national champion. I mean, we'd never won a playoff game until 2 weeks earlier. 2 weeks earlier, we won our first playoff game in the history of the school. We're playing North Dakota State University, 5-time national champion. Well, who do they have right in front of Jamie? And this is the third round of the playoffs. Win this, you're going to win the national championship. They got a 3-time All-American, 6'4", 298, lined up right in front of him. And, I said, "No, Jamie, this is a tough one here, brother." He said, "Coach," he said, "I've been living my whole life for this one. I've been living this is what I was born for." And anyway, to make a long story short, Jamie wore that. I've never had an O-lineman grade 100 until that game. That boy graded 100%. As an offensive lineman, and he was a 0-star, and we won the national championship. Won the D2 national championship. Had 36 first downs in the game. Had 524 yards rushing, 649 total, and 6 NCAA records out. And anyway, the moral of that story is this guy was a 0-star that loved it. Fought, scratched, clawed, and wound up, the last game he ever played in is a national champion. So there are guys out there, and that's our job as coaches, to go out there and find those hidden gems, to find those guys that love it, and then help develop them, and to to bring it out to a point to where they can compete and help you win a championship. So, that's what we're looking for. At UCA, we've got some of those guys. We are very, very close. Right now, we're 5-2 in our conference with a chance. We play Saturday against Sam Houston State, who is 6-1 in the conference. This is a winner-take-all situation right now. If we win this game on Saturday, we get in the NCAA playoffs, and then, all of your goals are out there. We've got a chance to compete for a national championship. So it is this is the biggest game of the year for us coming up. We started off slow, started off with a 1-3 record out of the gates. We played really well first game of the year against Texas Tech. We went out to Texas Tech and we scored 35 points, but unfortunately we gave up 42. We got beat by 7 at their place, but very proud of the way that the guys competed, but they do have a scoreboard for a reason. So we came up short there, and then stubbed our toe against Montana State, who is number 1 in our region. Those guys are really, really good. We flew out to after we go to Montana State, we'd already played in the biggest crowd in the history of Texas Tech football. They had 60-something thousand when we went and played at Texas Tech. So, and it was loud. They're throwing flour tortillas at you. That's what they do out there to try to get you off your game. So there's 60,000. They're throwing flour tortillas, and but we handled it well. Our guys handled it well, and we were able to execute, run our offense. We're no huddle and all that. So then we go to Montana State, 30,000. All right, Coach, you better practice noise. Noise. We just got back from Texas Tech. Montana State's not going to be louder than Texas Tech. It was way louder. 30,000 Montanans really made a lot of noise, a lot more noise than what Texas Tech made. They got after us, but we bounced back and had a chance to win that game late and let it slip away. But since that point in time, have bounced back, and now we're 5-2 in the conference, with a chance to go 6-2 and a chance to, if we can win this football game, we'll get to go to the NCAA playoffs and have a chance to compete for the national championship. So we're very excited about that. Excited about we've got 15 seniors that we're losing, so we've got a large majority. We've got 80 guys coming back, so we're very, very excited about the future, and look forward to building a championship program and getting it back to national championship status and national championship caliber at the University of Central Arkansas. It's an honor to be here today. Great to visit with all of you today, and congratulations to all of the award winners, the coaches, the parents, and all of you. And at this time, I'd like to open it up to any questions.
I've got the first question, Coach. You coached under Pat Dye and Jackie Sherrill. Give us the good and bad of each of those coaches. Was very, very honored to be able to coach for. I grew up biggest Bear Bryant fan in the world. My bedroom right now, you go back to that Cantonment, Florida, there's Bear, where you walk in the room and it's not changed since I was 18 when I left there. There's Bear Bryant stuff all over the walls and Bear Bryant Coke bottle and all that stuff. So, Jackie Sherrill played for Coach Bryant, and Pat Dye coached for Coach Bryant for 9 years at Alabama. So picked up so much from both of them. They got great stories on but one I'll tell you about. I was a graduate assistant for Coach Dye, and Coach Dye, he's been here twice and spoke here twice. He is a tough. The thing I remember about Coach Dye is how tough he is. That is a tough, tough man. He would get us as graduate assistants. We were 23, 24-year-olds. You graduate when you're 22, 23, and then you go be a GA when you're 24, 25. There's a handful of us. Tim Beckman, he's now the head coach at University of Illinois. Pat Washington, he's the receiver coach at University of Missouri. Was at Tennessee for years and years. There was a good Tim Jackson, he's the associate AD at Auburn. We were the GAs. He would take us, Coach Dye used to make us go out to his house and during the off season, and we would plant shrubbery up, and he had a so he had a 2 mile long driveway going back to his house.
And you'd get out there and you'd have to dig these holes this deep about every 2 feet for 2 miles. And so we're out there and we're young bucks and we're digging. Well, anyway, we'll knock this out in 30, 40 minutes. Well, about 6 hours later, you're still out there digging. And anyway, Coach Dye at that point in time, he was probably already 50, and he could outwork. He was outworking the younger bucks at 23, 24, 25. So when he talked to his football team about toughness, Coach Dye was all about toughness, mental and physical toughness. And, those were the things that he had gotten from Coach Bryant. When he talked about work, one of the things that he talked about, in that Auburn creed. At Auburn, we believe in work, hard work. Well, Pat Dye was about work, hard work. And I learned it with the blisters on my hands because he really lived that credo. And Jackie Sherrill, Coach Sherrill was a great recruiter. He was he was all about getting out on the recruiting trail and doing a good job and bringing in the players. And I got some. This is streaming video. Coach Sherrill was great to me and has been. Coach Sherrill has been, and he has been tremendous to me, and was very blessed to have worked for him, and he was and he was very good to me.
All right, just out of curiosity, only the honorees here for the James Street Award can answer this. Raise your hand and where the honorees at. What is unique about UCA's football field? Anybody know? It's striped purple and gray, and I've got to ask Coach, how difficult was it getting adjusted to it, and can you ever get adjusted to it?
Yeah. We play on the stripes. We call that the stripes. And, during the off season, we have our Fear of the Stripes runs. We get up at 6 in the morning and put the guys through, make them run all the way over campus, make them hit every step in the stadium, carrying weights, and then bear crawl up and down the stripes. So they run 2.6 miles around the whole campus and then hit every stadium step in the stadium and then bear crawl up and down the purple and gray stripes to defend the stripes. But that's, we're 19-3, I think, or is it 20-3 now since we put the stripes down on the field. So the guys take tremendous pride whenever they're playing on the stripes. Now, when I first got there, the first day or two, you film practice during the spring. You film your inside, your scale, all that stuff. And it takes a little bit to get adjusted to it, a day or two to get adjusted to it. Like right now, I cannot watch Boise on TV. I can't. I can't watch Eastern Washington. I got to turn it with that red turf. But I love the purple and gray. It kind of draws you to it. It took me about a day to get used to it, and since then, it's like a magnet. But it takes you about a day to get used to watching the film on it, and then I don't even notice it anymore. Other than our recruits love it. Nationwide. Well, I got a call the other day from a young man from. I can tell you what state he's from. He's from very far up north, and he's from very far up north. And he said, "Coach, y'all are the team that plays on that purple and gray field. Y'all play on the stripes." He said, "I want to come down there." And he's a great football player. You look at his huddle, great player, but the stripes have definitely brought attention nationwide. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, sir. No. I tell you what, he is now he got into coaching, and he is now a community college. He's community college offensive line coach, doing an outstanding job. At the NFL, that didn't give him much of a shot. Just it was tough to give him a shot in community college, and then it was tough to give him a shot at the Division II level. But the world is. We got time. All right, I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you this story. All right, and this one is as good as that one. All right, I'm in junior college. We need a quarterback. We had a great quarterback, kid named Clayton Moore. He goes on, signs at Akron University, and so the next year in junior college, you got to start. You got to build a new football team every year. So we need a quarterback. We get to looking, and once you once you sign a guy, he's yours. I mean, it's not 55-man roster. So you get to sign 2 quarterbacks, period. You get 8 out-of-state players. All right? So once you sign him, he's yours, whether he can play or not. So we needed a quarterback. We find about 4 guys that are good enough. They didn't have anything going on, and we said, hey, you can walk on, and we're going to sign the one out of the 4 that is the best. You know the deal. Yes, sir, Coach, we know the deal. I said, all right, well, come on, walk on. If you're good enough, we'll sign you. So we had this one kid. He came and he walked on, and he earns the starting job. We signed him. He was a straight walk-on, beat out 3 other guys, got the starting job. Plays for us for 2 years. We get beat in the state championship game, wind up like 6th in the nation. Then we win the state championship his sophomore year. We wind up 2nd or 3rd in the nation. Great player. He said, Coach, I'm an NFL player. I'm okay, you walked on in junior college. He's going, Coach, I'm going to play in the NFL. I need to go to, I'm going to go to, help. Said, will you send my film to Jimbo at Florida State? And I'm going, I don't want to waste my time. I hate to say that, but you're not. Florida State's already got a guy. LSU's got a guy. Notre Dame's got a guy. Coach, I'm gonna play there. And I go, all right. 2 years ago, you didn't even have a dorm room. In junior college. But now you're in NFL. But he believed in himself. So we send the film around, all that, and I call him. But he is a great player, and I believe in him. But I called my buddy at Troy, and my best friend there was the offense coordinator. I said, hey, you need to take a look at this guy. You need to give him a chance. He looks at him. He says, yeah, he can play, and he winds up signing the guy. All right. Well, they got but they've already got their starter. So the guy, Greg, he's backing up, and he said, Coach, I want to play. I'm an NFL player. And I said, well, Greg, they've already got their guy. Be patient. He said, no, Coach, I'm a starter. They want to use me as the Wildcat. Just let me come in, run some Wildcat stuff, and then get me out. They don't want to let me, throw the football, anything like that. I want to transfer. I said, man, give it some time, all that. And he said, no, Coach, I don't want to play. So anyway, call Alabama State. He transfers to Alabama State. Has 2 great years there. Breaks records. All right, but not going to get into camp, anything like that. Anyway, they have these, not the Senior Bowl, not the Hula Bowl, not the one below, but the one about 5 to 6 below that. He gets in one of them bowl games. Impresses enough to where he gets into camp with the Raiders. And gets into camp. They cut him. Great kid. Work ethic, loves it, works hard. Somebody gets hurt, they pick him up as a practice roster guy. Because once he gets in, it's hard to get rid of this guy. He's special. He's special. And just battles, fights, scraps, claws. Anyway, 1 year ago, next week, all right, I'm at home. All right, Thanksgiving Day, flip on the TV. The Oakland Raiders are playing the Dallas Cowboys. Any of y'all remember that game? Thanksgiving Day game. First play of the game, a guy scores a touchdown. Kickoff, sprints down, covering the kick. Kapow! The ball pops loose. A guy scoops and scores. There's that walk-on from Gulf Coast Junior. Didn't even have a dorm room 4 years earlier. Now he's scoring a touchdown for the Oakland Raiders on national TV, on Thanksgiving Day. So that's another story of a 0-star guy that wound up being an outstanding player, had a great college career, and getting his shot now in the NFL. So, that's what I love about the game of football, is that, you can measure 40s, you can measure 6'2", whatever, but you can't measure that right there. And you can't, and that's the beauty of football, and that's why we're excited about this week. This football team. Our football team right now. We won this past week in overtime. We scored on the last play of the game to beat UT Martin. We took Texas Tech down to the last play of the game. We took Montana State after falling behind by 21. We took them. We cut it to a touchdown late in the fourth quarter. This football team has fought all the way through, and now we got one more fight to get into the playoffs on Saturday, and we're really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Steve Campbell, everybody. All right, can we have our honorees? Thanks for being here. Sean Andrews next week if we have our honorees from the James Street Sportsmanship Award to come on front.